Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to another Walking Dead video. This is another Q&A video here. I'm going to answer all of your questions regarding The Walking Dead: The Ones Who Live and Fear the Walking Dead's finale, which I will say there's not going to be a lot of focus on Fear the Walking Dead because most of these questions are on The Ones Who Live. But anyways, make sure to be a subscriber if you want to get all my Walking Dead content like this. The next show is The Walking Dead: The Ones Who Live, and they're starting to promote it a lot now. There's a lot more talk about this show. There's a lot of stuff. Like, I don't know if certain things are out. I mean, I know things are being leaked online, so I don't really want to talk about it here on the channel, but like, there are certain things that were sort of leaked online about certain like collaborations happening later on with like just certain things, and I'm like, oh wow, like the promotion for The Ones Who Live is really going to be insane. So I'm very hyped for this show. I really think they're going to promote this probably the most out of all three shows, and I'm just so excited. So any sort of news that we do get, any like, new footage or anything like that, I'll be breaking it down here on the channel. So if you want to get all that content, then make sure to be a subscriber. I already posted the video. It's already up on the channel. I'm doing a personal channel. So as some of you guys may have known, earlier, I think at the end of July, around there, I started a Patreon where I was sort of doing vlogs, and I was sort of testing some stuff out. And, I quickly learned right away that a lot of the content that I do want to post that's more like personal stuff or whatever, I don't want to have on a schedule where I post it once a week, because sometimes I don't have much to update right away, or sometimes I want to do a video on something else. And so I kind of realized that, I'll continue it for however long I can sort of do it, but like there was going to come a point where I was like, you know what, I'm going to do this as like a sort of a personal channel sort of thing. And it took a lot of courage to be able to do that and sort of like release that first video. But the first video is up on my main channel. I'll leave a link down below in the description of this video if you do want to subscribe. I'm going to be doing like this sort of life transformation, and I'm going to be focusing on some of that, talking about some of the struggles that I've been having. But honestly, I've been focusing more on the positive lately. I'll still talk about some of the harder stuff, but I will be talking about a lot of positive things as well, because that is what is getting me out of this right now. And it's honestly been so amazing, and it's been a lot of fun. And plus, I will be doing like random videos, just sort of in general thoughts on some stuff. And yeah, I'm just sort of testing out what I can do with that channel right now. So anyways, if you want to subscribe to that channel, definitely go do so. I'll leave a link down below in the description of this video. But let's get into the first question here. So, do you think the scene we saw in the trailer of Rick waking up is him waking up from the bridge coma? I'm going to say no. I knew that when that happened, people were going to start to say that. Some people were going to think that right away. I don't think that's what that is. I don't think he's going to be in any sort of like coma or anything like that. I think he'll be out of it for quite a bit. Like he was sort of going in and out of it afterwards anyways, because we saw him in the helicopter and he was just out of it, right? And I think he'll wake up in that place. I think he'll see certain things happening. I do think we're going to get a flashback to that. I don't think it's going to happen in episode 1. It'll probably happen at some point later on. But I do think we're going to get a flashback as to what happened between just that time period there and I guess where Rick's at right now, right? And certain things, because I do think it's going to be very key to the story overall in terms of what Jadis did to Rick when they got to the Civic Republic, and, I guess his importance to Major General Beale and all of that. So I think that's why we're mostly going to get the scene. And yeah, I think it's also just going to more sort of tell us what Rick has been up to really this entire time, because it's been very, very miserable for him, right? So I don't think it's him waking up from a coma. I think it's just him waking up from like a bad dream. Q&A, do you think the new CRM soldier uniforms are just a new design for the suits, or just a new rank of soldiers completely? Side note, we have seen a few original CRM soldier uniforms, but those mainly belong to helicopter pilots. Could this be a new variant of the suit? I do think that it's probably a new variant of the suit. I don't think it's going to be the basic CRM soldiers that we've been kind of seeing around. I feel like those soldiers are just like, again, basic soldiers. They could be more, I'm not entirely sure of, I guess, their purpose. Like they could be like recruiters or people that go out for certain things in terms of resources and other stuff like that. The CRM, outfit that we saw, like they look very, very cool. You can tell that, for this show, they were like, you know what, we do want to kind of redesign it a little bit and make it look a lot better, just cinematically better and all that. And you can tell there was a lot of budget put into it because it looks really incredible. Like that was one of the criticisms about the Commonwealth outfits, right? Like the Commonwealth outfits looked very good. And I will say overall, they were all right, but they looked kind of cheapish, right? And I think the outfits here, you can tell they don't. Like they actually look really well made, and I'm sure they were well made. It's just that you can tell that there's a higher quality to these new CRM soldier uniforms, and so there's a new higher quality to these new CRM soldier uniforms, right? So I think it's just a new rank. That's all it is. I don't think it's going to be like the new CRM soldier. My prediction is it's going to be a new rank, and I'm very interested in that. Like, I actually do want to know a lot more about, I guess just the point of all of it. You know, there's so many questions I have about the Civic Republic, and like, say Rick joins the military, like, what are they doing? Are they just killing walkers? Like, it can't just be that. It can't just be they have this whole military thing just to kill walkers, because Rick's already doing that. If he's joining the military at all, or if Pearl Thorne is doing it, it's to get out of killing walkers. And so there's no way she's still killing walkers. So there's something else that they're doing, right? So there's a lot of little story details like that that I'm just dying to know. And obviously over the next like month or two, we're going to learn a lot more details on that. Q&A, do you think when Dwight and Sherry got back to the sanctuary, is what Carol was trying to tell Daryl and that Dwight came back? I do think that's probably what it is. I don't think it's going to be Rick and Michonne. Like, I really think the whole Rick and Michonne thing with that is just kind of a lot, to be honest. Like, it really is a lot to just be like, yeah, Rick came back, and just to mention it like that in that way, right? I think it makes more sense that it was Dwight or Morgan. You know, I think more Dwight just because of how disappointed she sounded. Like, she kind of seemed like she was just kind of upset about it. Like Dwight came back, you know, she didn't sound so happy about it. Like, if Rick came back, she would have been like, Daryl, like, Rick came back, like, and sound very, very happy about it. But she seemed so kind of just upset about the whole thing and was just like, Daryl, something, whatever, came back. Like, she seemed kind of upset about it. And that's why I don't think it was Morgan, because she'd be happy to see Morgan. I think if she learned that Dwight came back, you know, it lines up perfectly with Fear the Walking Dead's timeline, like the finale. It just makes sense, because for Carol, she's probably like, yeah, Dwight came back, and now we got to deal with this because he's trying to run the sanctuary again. So there's some problems there. Or maybe she thinks there's going to be problems, and then she goes and like talks to Dwight, but everything's kind of good. You know, I think that makes a lot of sense, because if the sanctuary is starting to be really like fully functional, the Commonwealth, the people of Alexandria are eventually going to find out. Someone like Carol, who's always out there, who's always like taking care of people, this and that, she's going to find out about that, and she's going to know immediately. And I think that's, you know, I think she's probably just going to find out about that. And I really feel like that setup right there was just sort of something for fear. And I think she'll just mention it at some point in season 2 to Daryl, like, oh, it was Dwight, like Dwight came back. And then we'll see Dwight in Dead City kind of thing, or there'll be a tease. Like, I think that was honestly a tease for Dwight's return for Dead City, and just some setup for that story overall. I feel like her mentioning, again, like, even if it was just Rick, like, you would say Rick and Michonne. Like, you would say, like, you know what I mean? Like, you would say both of their names, and it was just too fast. I don't think that they would give us something like that. The Walking Dead has never really given us any type of information like that, so I just don't think that's who Carol was referring to. I do think overall, if I had to give one prediction, it is most likely Dwight. Q&A, I know you don't like the showrunners of Fear at all, but what is something you do like about them? Well, I mean, I like, obviously, I think they're probably like great people and all that. Like, I just don't like obviously they're like story writing and stuff like that, storytelling, because I just think it's a lot sometimes. I think they just, I think you have to map it out a little bit better. I think you gotta come up with an overall purpose, an overall theme. Like, The Walking Dead, what was the point of The Walking Dead in the beginning? When you're first, like, you know, think of Robert Kirkman. When you're first writing that story, he was probably like, well, it's a zombie apocalypse, they're trying to survive. And as you're going from, you know, comic to comic or issue to issue, you're starting to come up with a theme or a story or an overall, you know what I mean? And it became more about family and certain things like that. And not just that, you have to have a little bit more. Like, there has to be an overall, just like a goal that I think makes sense. And it was like, what it was they're trying to find a new sense of normal. They're trying to find something that felt like it was normal. And I think Fear the Walking Dead, that was the issue with it from the beginning, was like, well, it's going to be the same story as The Walking Dead. They're just trying to survive. But when people focused on the fact that, well, no, it was going to be more of a pre-apocalypse thing, people were excited about that. And then after season 1, you know, that wasn't the case anymore. It jumped right into the apocalypse story, which is fine. You can have more stories to be told there. I just think that you should have went in a different direction with the story and told some more unique stories. And, you know, I think they were going in a pretty interesting direction. You know, once it got to season 3, things started to get pretty good. But I think once it got to season 4 and the new showrunners took over, that's where some of the issues came in. And it was just about survival. And it wasn't even like really trying to survive. It was like all this emotional stuff that made no sense. And then there's issues with the plot and these characters conveniently doing this for the sake of this. And you could just see a lot of issues there, you know, so that's overall my problem there. But if there was one good thing I could say I will say, they definitely took risks, and it's admiring because, like, they killed off John in season 6, and that is a decision I totally agree with. And that's the stuff that I want The Walking Dead to do, because at that point, John was a really amazing character, right? John Dory. And people love that character a lot. It made sense to kill him off at that point. And that's what The Walking Dead really got right early on. It was like these characters, we just love these characters, and they could continue on for more seasons. We could still have them around for a while, but knowing when to kill them off, to do those moments where it felt shocking, is something that I know that they do. Obviously, they went a little crazy with it because they killed off Madison and Nick. Like, I know Nick wanted to leave the show, like the actor, so you probably could have just killed him off, but you didn't have to kill off Madison as well. So there's little things like that. I think how brave they were in telling that story, I think definitely I admired that, because we don't get that a lot, or at least in the last couple of seasons of The Walking Dead, we didn't really get that. So that was a really cool moment to see, I think, overall, from seasons 4 to 8. Q&A, do you think that The Walking Dead could have ended at the season 8 finale and have the post-credit scene be like bearded Rick's dreams of the better future that Carl wanted? Do you reckon if it was announced that it was the final season that, fans would have taken Carl's death more lightly, considering he was a sacrifice for the end of the show as a form of symbolism for Rick to change his ways? Yeah, I mean, if you ended it there, that makes sense. I just think that it wouldn't have been a good ending for the overall story, because people really wanted the Whisperers. Like, the Whisperers was such an exciting arc. So I think no matter what, people would have been really disappointed about it, because like the Whisper arc was just amazing, right? And the comic was definitely better. I think the comic Whisper arc was told better than the show. Although I will say, I think the show earlier on did a lot of things right, but I think the Whisperer war arc in the comic was so much better than the way it was told on the show, because I think on the show things just kind of got really messy, and a lot of characters didn't die when they were supposed to, or at least fans would have wanted it, because there were certain iconic deaths that I'm like, how did you not do that from the comic? That was an easy win right there. Like, you would have won over so much fans, you would have, everyone would have been so happy, but they ignored a lot of things there. And yeah, so I think that I think if they would have ended in season 8, it would have made sense. Carl's death probably wouldn't have been so like hated, I guess, from people, but I think overall people would have been mad, because they would have been like, well, The Walking Dead is just sort of done and that's it, kind of thing. And, no Whisperer arc or whatever. So Q&A, do you think that if The Ones Who Live is actually only one season, it'll never be able to live up to fan expectations? The anticipation for the show is massive, and after waiting 5 years for Rick's return, I feel many fans may be dissatisfied with 1 or maybe even 2 seasons if there's only 6 episodes apiece. Thanks. Happy Thanksgiving. Well, happy Thanksgiving to you too. I do agree. I think if it's only one season, people are going to be very, very underwhelmed. Like, I will be for sure. If it's just this one season and that is it, the CRM arc is over and whatever, I'm going to be very underwhelmed, because I do want more. There's more of a story there. There's so much expectation with this show. And the thing is with the movies, like, I know people say like, well, they're doing 6 episodes, so that's 6 hours of footage. And then they say, well, 3 movies would have been 2 hours each, so overall 6 hours. And so they try to equate it that way. Like, telling a story in a movie format is so different from a television show. With a movie, it's very fast pacing, and you constantly have to get through stuff. There's an overall arc, and then it ends. And then there would be a second movie. There would be a whole arc, and then it would end. And so forth, right? It's just not the same. I mean, look at Dead City and Daryl Dixon. Imagine if the first 2 episodes of each season was one movie. It would be so underwhelming. It wouldn't be a good movie. And then episodes 3 and 4 were another movie. It would also not be a good movie. That overall 6 episodes is a really good story arc and works as like one movie. And so I think with this show, with the Ones Who Live, it should be 3 seasons. And I think that the story of the first season would be like one movie, right? And then the story for the second season would be the second movie. It just makes sense with how you're trying to tell the story. And I think the reason they never went the whole movie route was because it's hard to tell a story like that with The Walking Dead. Like, The Walking Dead storytelling is very slow, and you live with the characters for a while, and there's a lot of build up from episode to episode, and TV shows just work really well right now. So I think that's why they switched from that, because I do think overall with just story wise, they're having a hard time getting places and like being able to tell a really good story where it was like, oh, this is actually going to be really good. So I think that's sort of why that changed, and that's why I think it needs to be more than 6 episodes, because if it's just 6 episodes, that is it. People are going to be left wanting more, and it's not going to be in a good way. It's going to be like, okay, that was really cool. That was awesome to see. but I'm not satisfied overall with the ending to the characters because it just happened just like that. And I was so excited for this arc and this whole build up for so long. And now what? Is the CRM arc just over? Is that it? Can you end Rick and Michonne's story and still have the CRM arc still going on? You know what I mean? Like there's some issues that I have there with that. And so to me, there needs to be more than one season overall for people to be happy. So anyways, I'm gonna leave it here. Post all your thoughts down below. Hope you guys all enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.